this week's best MMA bets. We're talking UFC Vegas 89. I'm going to give you guys my lock of the week, my most confident picks, favorite underdogs. We'll talk Degen props of the night and then finish it out with the parlays. So make sure you guys smash the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Turn the post notifications on and make sure to share the video as well. Last week, Bulgarian was the lock, and unfortunately, the judges did not respect the control from his performance. He ends up losing a controversial decision. Many people are claiming robbery. Ultimately, it is what it is. It sucks that the loss came with a lock that seemed like he had a decision. Nonetheless, he did gas out later in the fight and lose the third round. The fight game is what it is, but I'm coming back with an absolute vengeance this week, and I believe because of last week's lock taking an L via controversial decision, this week the MMA gods are going to be on my side. So without further ado, the lock of the week.
Kurt Holloway!
Kurt Holloway, lock of the week. I'm picking the underdog. I believe he can beat Trey Ogden. He puts on a high pace, and he also has very slick grappling skills. I think that he can give Ogden a lot of trouble, and not only the grappling, but in the stand-up, because Holloway's a guy that can mix it up nicely with punches, and I feel like Ogden likes to fight at a more calculated technical pace, whereas Holloway is looking to push it from the get-go. I believe we're going to see Holloway make Ogden uncomfortable. And then I got dog money on him too. Plus 137 range. I love the underdog here this week. I love Holloway to win. I think he's live to win it by submission. Trey Ogden has 3 submission losses. Kurt Holloway has very good grappling, and I think he's a dangerous threat by sub in this fight here. I'm predicting him to get the win via submission. I'm locking an underdog, and I'm feeling pretty solid about it. Holloway right now is riding a lot of momentum with a late career resurgence, winning the Ultimate Fighter. He strangled, I guess triangle choke, but really a triangle strangle we can call it, Austin Hubbard last time. And I think he's live to submit Ogden too. I like the straight dog money line, but that submission prop is nice. Plus 400 for Kurt Holloway to win by sub. I'm going with the dog. I think that he's going to put Ogden in uncomfortable spots in the fight, putting a high pace on him and making it a difficult matchup. I like the chances of Holloway winning this thing. It's a fun fight, and I think it's a great underdog here. I got Kurt Holloway as this week's lock. I'm dog locking it this week. I'm telling you, the MMA gods are with us. They owe us one, and I think we're getting it here with Kurt Holloway. So I'm excited for this week's lock. Let's jump to the next segment. Let's talk about the most confident picks on the card. I got some favorites that I'm feeling pretty good about. We'll bring them up on screen. We got Rose Namajunas, Edmund Shahbazyan, Miles Johns, and we have Andre Lima. We'll first talk Thug Rose to win. I do believe she can outstrike Ribas, and I'm very confident she'll be stopping takedowns. Namajunas is minus 210 as the favorite. I'm feeling like she's live to get a KO here. I think she could sleep Amanda Ribas. Now, the odds for knockout are not beautiful at plus 110. I don't love that line. It's unfortunate that it's plus 110. Ribas is a tough girl, but going 5 rounds with Thug Rose, and even though Rose lost last time out to Manon Fiorot, it was against a very high pedigreed contender here at the women's flyweight class, and she's fighting Erin Blanchfield in a #1 contender spot. I don't really think it's a horrible loss, also considering she broke her hand early in that last fight and still was able to go distance and have some competitive moments, certainly lost. Now she's fighting Ribas, who's naturally a strawweight, as is Rose Namajunas. I think this is going to be a great fight for her. I think Thug Rose is an interesting spot because if she wins this, she's back in title contention at women's 115 if she wants to drop back down. So maybe something to think about for her. Nonetheless, I see her getting it done. I think she can stop Amanda Ribas. I feel like the stand-up of Rose is clearly better. She's going to have a huge speed advantage, a big precision advantage too. She's just clearly the better striker. When you're talking about jiu-jitsu, definitely Ribas is dangerous, but I don't think she has a strength edge over Thug Rose. And I think she's going to have an extremely hard time getting the fight to the floor. Thug Rose, confident call to get it done. Next one, Edmund Shahbazyan. He's minus 205 range, is the favorite here against AJ Dobson. Shahbazyan's losses have aged like fine wine. He's only 26. Losses, Derek Brunson, not a bad loss. Jack Hermanson, not a bad loss. Nasruddin Imavov, not a bad loss. Anthony Hernandez, Fluffy Hernandez, not a bad loss either. 4 losses to guys that were all ranked, right? Or at least currently ranked. And I mean, Derek Brunson's no longer with the promotion, but he's a high-tier gatekeeper. AJ Dobson is 1-2 in the UFC. He beat Tefan Chukwi last time, but he has losses to Armin Petrosian and Jacob Malhoun. I think Edmund Shahbazyan is a faster and more precise striker than the likes of Armin Petrosian. Interesting, they're both Armenian strikers too. I think Shahbazyan should look pretty good here. Now, the thing is, him coming off of a loss, being 1-4 in the last 5, it's not a good look. I could see Shahbazyan being calculated and getting a technical win, playing it on the safer side and getting it on the scorecards. Him to win via decision is sitting up at plus 265. Now, I do think knockout is live as well, but the juice value-wise is very much so on that decision side. The knockout prop, not nearly as juicy at plus 175. I think Shahbazyan can outstrike Dobson. I think he can keep him at bay. I think he can avoid the grappling. I do believe he could hurt him and knock him out too in this fight. It's a possibility. So the money line is the A side in this one. Now, yeah, it's at 2-1 odds. It's definitely something to parlay up, and you'll see the Shahbazyan name in that parlay section, but very confident that he beats AJ Dobson in this fight. I still have faith in Edmund Shahbazyan. At only 26, he can grow a lot from these losses. Next one, we have Miles Johns. I'll be honest, this one here from the most confident pick section, I was really up for debate. I was sitting on it, and it was taking me a while to decide on who I'm going to put in this position. I settled on Miles Johns because even though it's a suboptimal circumstance with Miles Johns stepping in on short notice, if this fight was scheduled with Miles Johns on a full camp, I would be extremely confident that he would beat Cody Gibson. I would see him somewhere near 3-1 lines as a favorite. Now I have minus 140. Miles Johns is always a guy that comes in shape. He has a wrestling edge here, and he does have a power punching edge here. He's dealing with a long guy in Cody Gibson, but we have seen Gibson lose to fighters with similar frames to Miles Johns. Even though Johns is stepping in on short notice, I got to believe that he's been training hard and seems fight ready, because to jump in here in one of these bad circumstances with a 13-2 record, coming off of a suspension, he was taking performance-enhancing drugs. He did pop for Turinabol. So I guess there's some concerns. Short notice and potential, being off of performance-enhancing drugs could lessen a Miles Johns. But if he comes in looking similar to what we normally see, I think he's on the way to beating Cody Gibson. Minus 143. I'm going to put Johns in here, but I will say, of the most confident picks, I got one more. This is the least of the most confident. I was torn between Hamosh and Miles Johns. Reason I didn't put Hamosh in is because the fight IQ is way too much of a question mark for me. Miles Johns with a full camp is much more easily a most confident pick. There's some red flags on this confident pick, though. So I'm going to give you guys that honesty straight out. Now, close money line at minus 143. Johns to win by decision, sitting up at plus 180. And an over 2.5 at minus 180. If you're not interested in betting the fight, you don't want to touch Miles Johns, you don't like the dog Gibson, I think we can all agree over 2.5 makes a ton of sense here. And I think that we're going distance between these two. Minus 180 over 2.5. Very good parlay piece and something to mention at the end. So stay tuned for the parlays. Next, in the final of the most confident picks, I have Andre Lima to beat Igor Severino da Silva. Minus 180 for Lima. His striking's incredible. The grappling defense seems to be there. I believe that he's the illegitimate son of Anderson Silva. I've been saying that all week. And I see special game with him. I think Severino da Silva is a tough kid, only 20 years old. I like the fighter that's 5 years older. I like Lima's striking background as well. He's incredibly calculated, incredibly technical, and I think that he's going to be touching up Severino for the vast majority of this fight. And if they do go to the ground, I think Lima has a massive physicality advantage on top of legit skill too on the floor. The minus 180 range down the money line is honestly not awful here. Looking at fight going over 1.5 rounds at minus 180, another over that I really like. I believe it's going over 1.5, both at minus 180. Maybe that's a sign of good luck. Lima to win via decision is my official pick. That's plus 215. I like Andre Lima to beat Severino. I'm feeling good about the most confident picks. I think we can pull this one out. and sweep it. Obviously, a little bit of nerves with Miles Johns because of the suboptimal circumstances, but I think these MCPs, most confident picks, make a lot of sense for this card. Let's keep running. Let's talk about my favorite underdogs, obviously excluding the lock of the week, which is a dog this week. We have Muhammad Usman and we have Justin Tafa. I got two heavyweight underdogs. Could be danger zone, but I feel like there is a high probability of these dogs coming through. We'll first talk about Justin Tafa, who's in the co-main event. I really believe that he's going to chin Carl Williams. Williams is a pressure wrestler who puts a high pace and attacks with takedowns. Fighters in the past have gotten up from the floor, being Chase Sherman, right? Gone back into the striking realm with them. They don't have the power of a Tafa. It takes one shot from Justin Tafa. He also is a very heavy guy with a heavy base down the center. I think Tafa can really rock Carl Williams striking. I'm going Tafa by knockout. We got a heavyweight fight. We got a Samoan Savage. I like plus 155 knockout for Tafa. Tafa to win via KO sits at plus 200. I do believe he's going to end up getting a knockout win. I think he's going to put Carl Williams down. The punching power is a substantial edge. And I think Williams, being a pressure wrestler, but not a submission threat, is a major factor into my confidence because as soon as they get up to the feet, Williams is in big trouble, and I have a very hard time seeing Williams smash and ground and pound Tafa in this fight. I think Tafa's evolved a lot. We're going to see people, especially the bookies, judge him because of his loss to Jared Vanderaa some time ago, right? Losses early in his UFC run, and maybe less than impressive wins against subpar opposition. But he came to the UFC with just 3 professional bouts. He's really learning on the job here to become one of the higher level guys in the world. And I think the striking is extremely legit. I like Tafa by KO. I like the knockout call. I think he's chinning Carl Williams. Let's see. What is the round props? If Tafa knocked him out in the second round, plus 850, you're getting rich. Now, first round is plus 300. I like the straight knockout. I think first round is possible. But what if it's a smothering attack early by Williams, and then in the second round, he gets absolutely flatlined? I think it's a possibility. I like Tafa straight money line. I like Tafa knockout, and I think he's pulling it off. Very much so a dog that I like. Now, the next one, Muhammad Usman. This fight is kind of on the flip side because that other fight, being Tafa and Williams, is a fight that I see probably with Tafa winning by knockout. This one here, I think Usman with a smothering attack, similar to what you'd see from Carl Williams, is going to be successful. Difference is, Parkin is not a power puncher. Mick Parkin is a technical striker that throws decent amounts of volume, calculated, sure, decent striking game, not overly impressive. The Hunchback of Notre Dame type stance because that neck comes way forward. Muhammad Usman's still a bit of a raw talent, but I do think he can outwork Parkin inside of the close range, inside of the clinch, and on the floor. I like Usman to win. He's plus 120. Over 2.5, minus 160. I know it's heavyweight, and one shot changes everything, but I feel like we're probably going over. Usman via decision, currently sitting at plus 225 with a KO at plus 400. The Usman side, I like better, just money line. Like Tafa, I love the knockout. Here, plus money, straight money line. And the fight probably going into the later stages. I think we're going 3 rounds. I like the over in this matchup. I like Usman. Those are the calls for the favorite underdogs. It's time now to talk some Degen props of the night for this UFC Vegas card. Now, Ricardo Ramos was just barely left out of the most confident pick section because of a questionable fight IQ. I like the under 2.5 here at minus 175, and I also like Ramos to win by knockout, which sits up at plus 250. Now, if Arosas to beat him, though, even though I'm picking the side of Ramos, I have to consider Erosa by submission is extremely valuable at plus 575. He's a very legit submission game, and we've seen Ramos sub before. So if you're looking to kind of play both sides of the fence here, maybe it's not a bad idea to hedge the side of win by submission for Erosa. Or maybe you're picking Erosa to win by sub, and even me on the other side is giving you more confidence that Erosa by submission is not a bad prop bet. I think Ramos can knock him out. I think Ramos can definitely outstrike him, but the fight IQ is so risky. I like the under. Finishing methods, I think, would be a knockout for Ramos or an Erosa sub. Plus 575, that's crazy to me that it's all the way up at plus 575. That doesn't make sense. That's wild. That's wild. Should be closer than that. Now, for some of the other ones, I like the Talbott fight going longer. I think we're going into the later stages. Over 2.5 is minus 185. I do believe we're probably hitting that over 2.5. I'm personally picking Talbot to win, but I recognize Saaiman is an extremely difficult fight. Saaiman's going to be tough to deal with. Now, these next ones, they're kind of left out of the section. This is more of a glance overview. The minus 110, Billy Q, okay? What the hell? The line just moved. It was minus 300 at open. He may flip to an underdog before the end of the week. Everybody is backing Yusuf Zalal as a dog, betting-wise. Very interesting. Fight going over is minus 260. What's Billy Q by sub? Plus 950. The thing is, Zalal was not submitted by Ilia Topuria, so it makes sense that line's going to be pretty juiced up. But I do think Billy Q can smother him. But I understand Zalal's striking game legit, and that's why Billy Q's not in the most confident pick section. Now, I think Steve Nguyen probably gets it done here. The over is minus 155. I think there's a good chance for that over. I'm not going money line Nguyen. Let's see, Nguyen by decision. Where is it? Nguyen by decision, plus 115. Aaron's by decision, plus 325. I like the over, minus 155. Those are some Degen props of the night. Honestly, the most Degen call was probably with the Tafa fight. And that was already something we covered in the favorite dog section. So maybe a little less Degen than you would have liked to see. But it is what it is. I still got to glance some things over. Zelenyakova KO plus 300. Rendon decision plus 175. Damn. Why is it there's decision for Rendon plus 175 where we have Rendon money line plus 180? Who's playing that line? Just something to look at and criticize. That's actually funny. Those are the Degen props of the night. Let's talk about the parlay section. What am I feeling for parlays? Well, on the safer side of things is where I kind of want to stray. I want to keep in safety zone USA. I got to find our card. Namajunas on the lineup with Edmund Shahbazyan is something that I called earlier yesterday during Moneyline. I think there's a good chance at plus 120 this one does end up coming through. I think there's a high probability that this is what we see here. Now, the over action. Do I go the Gibsons and Johns over to give it a little something, something? Plus 239. Interesting. Definitely interesting. Very interesting. Tafa straight dog plus 782. That's big. That's a big tag now. And if you had Hollowba as a dog as well, plus 1928. I want to degen it up, though. I won't lie to you. Like, I'm always tempted to degen it up. I want to just ride with one, though, including 3 out of the 4 most confident picks in this play. All right, so we have Namajunas, Shahbazyan, and we got to find a guy Lima. I hate that it's like I got to scroll up, down, and all around, but it is what it is. I can't bitch too much. They put the odds in front of us. Shout out Best Fight Odds. Plus 244 for this one right here. Betting heavyweights on an over seems like a bad idea, but I do think this one ends up going long. But these 3 together is nice too. Plus 244. If you want to throw an underdog side in, you want to put in the likes of Kurt Hollowba, you got plus 130. That's 692 line. Mixing him in there. And then if you add Tafa as well, plus 1960. It goes big then. The over in that Johns fight makes sense, though. The reason I'm not going straight down the line, Johns, in these parlays is just, you know, it's the worry of the short notice and no performance-enhancing drugs in the system. Because we could see him becoming, you know, a 30% less effective fighter. What's the over in this fight? The Puello over is minus 108. That's something that I could have mentioned in the Degen prop section. I'm liking how these things are looking, though, man. I'm liking where I'm at. Namajunas, Tafa, Shahbazyan, plus 476, calling it perfectly for the big 3. I understand people like Carl Williams. They think he's going to look to pressure wrestle, but Tafa needs one punch, and he's flatlining him, and I personally believe he's going to end up getting that one punch. I'm excited to see the scales, and I'll give you guys more of a parlay rundown when we see the scales, but that Namajunas and Shahbazyan side is ringing money to me. It's ringing money to me. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this week's Best MMA Bets. It's nice to be back in studio. I know you guys are happy, Much love. Let me know your lock in the comments and some of your favorite bets on the card. I appreciate you all for tuning in. Smash the like button if you're new. Subscribe to the channel and turn the post notifications on. And keep your eyes locked in right here because I got daily content, Fight Companion back this Saturday. So you guys will be definitely satisfied with the content your boy's going to be dropping. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.